very popular, and it is still work in progress. Though it has many APIs are there, many platforms are there we can use where you can directly make chatbot, but still it works with a limited success only. There is a long way to go. Similarly, learning has application in visual processing also. Like given an image, identify the objects, a dog, a person, and chair. So if it can distinguish between these objects, that is a very interesting task. Then given an input video, uh, identify the important frame which describes the actual video. So this is the kind of summary or short video generation from a long video. So automatic editing kind of thing where you get the important frames from the image, from the video. So there is a like there is for text there is text summarization. Similarly for video there is video summarization. Then in security, you want to identify the person from the long video of security camera. So security cameras are 24 hours on, but if something happens, you need to detect person, then that can also be done through video processing. Then video image or image description generation. We generate description from the image. For example, here there is a description for the image, like top view of lights of a city at night with a well illuminated square in front of a church in the foreground. So machine needs to know that there is a church, there is a foreground for the church, and then this is a city view at night and all that. So if machine can generate this kind of description from the image, then we say machine is intelligent. And then image question answering. As you have text reading comprehension and question answering, similarly questions can be asked from image also. What is the most touch made of? Answer is banana, right? So look at the image and get the answer. So this kind of popular applications are there. And actually many more. So I don't need to uh, highlight this or emphasize this more because we are already using many machine learning applications. And next slide is about type of learning. I guess Varalakshmi has already covered this in her lecture. Uh, is it is it so? Like, do you know this supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, other things? Okay. I guess Varalakshmi madam has discussed this. Okay. Meanwhile, Preeti is asking something. Does face lock uses machine learning or it is just match some point of face or shape? Okay. So you are talking about biometrics, face locking, or even the fingerprint detection and unlocking based on fingerprint. Yes, so biometric systems requires intelligence. If it is just a exact matching, then one day I lock without spectacle and without mustache, and next day I wear the spectacle and mustache. If there is some change in the feature of face, then the machine would not be able to recognize. So exact matching would be very difficult in this case, and it may not work many times. So usually there is a degree of intelligence. But still, this is also a work in progress. So all the mobile devices which allows you to unlock and unlock from face says that this is not very secure because it is not very accurate. But it requires machine learning. Yes. So this is a kind of repetition. We'll quickly go through this. So what kind of learning system we can create? So there are three kinds of learning: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. And I'm assuming that Lakshmi madam has already told you this. That's why I'm going fast. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can stop me and we can discuss that. So supervised learning is kind of learning with teacher where there is someone who tell you what is right and what is wrong. So for every example or for every experience given, there is a corresponding correct response, which is already known to you. So that's why it is a continuous correction model where errors are corrected and based on that you produce right output. On the contrary, unsupervised is like learning from experience. And this is more prominent, right? So supervised learning only happens with parents and teachers. But most of the time, the things that you learn from friends, the things that you learn from real life is unsupervised. Nobody dictates you about what is right and wrong, but somehow you make your decisions and you learn. So there is unsupervised learning, that machine learning task that looks for previously undetected pattern in data set with pre-existing label. So experience the same thing more than once and you know that it works like this. And based on that, you make your opinion. So there is kind of unsupervised learning. And then the third is reinforcement learning, where the system is put in a situation and for every action, there is a corresponding reward or punishment. Based on that, the system would try to gather more and more reward, and this direction of gathering reward will lead to the correct solution. So it is also planned in a way that, for example, gaming. Also, you are all hooked to game because in game, after every interval, you get some rewards, you get some punishment, and based on that, you keep on learning. So that is very addictive also. And the example that we discussed earlier, like car driving or chess playing, this fits in the idea of reinforcement learning. So for car driving, I cannot give a complete map, Google map, and say that this is correct way of driving everything. Learn this and then you go on road. It doesn't work like that. Rather, the machine needs to be put on road and slowly, gradually, based on the kind of road it is riding and based on the experience that is gathering from the road, the learning will improve. So if you are trained for expressway, you cannot drive for Nadiad road. And if you are trained for Nadiad's road, you cannot drive in Ahmedabad road. So this way your experience keeps on building based on the environment that you are put in. Okay, Yash is asking the recommendation system is which kind of learning? Okay, interesting question. So recommendation system is application of machine learning here, and it can be supervised or unsupervised, but usually it is unsupervised. Why it is unsupervised? Because in recommendation system is often about, it is related to search. So you are given n items, and out of n items, you need to recommend one best item. Right? So there is a searching. So it is an extension of the modern day search problem, and usually it is unsupervised. But you can argue that there can be supervision. Like if you have if I have bought bread, then I'm very likely to buy butter also. Right? So if there is a information available that bread goes with butter, then I can recommend butter to all those who are buying bread. But that is unsupervised. You don't put a yes or no. Like there cannot be an example like where okay, camera is recommended yes or recommended no. It's not like that. So what is recommended today to a person may not be recommended tomorrow to the same person, or it might be recommended to some other person also. Isn't it? Have I answered your question? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So these are types of learning, and then I think you have seen this taxonomy also. So machine learning systems can be divided into supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement. Semi-supervised is mix of both supervised and unsupervised. And in supervised, your data can be continuous or it can be categorical variables like 0, 1 or binary or multinomial. Based on that, either you are in a regression domain or you are in a classification domain. And in case of unsupervised learning, looking at the data, you can do two things. One is group the data into group similar data. That is called clustering. And second is called relate the data points. That is called association or market basket analysis. I have just given an example of it with bread and butter. So if I'm buying bread, then people would say that from all previous bills, they have seen that butter goes with bread. So market basket analysis will say that if a person is buying bread, then recommend butter. If a person is buying camera, then recommend cover and screen guard. Or if a person is buying mobile, then recommend mobile cover and mobile screen guard and so on. So this is part of unsupervised learning. Semi-supervised is usually mix of supervised and unsupervised. It is not a separate branch, but it is usually a need because you do not have so much of label data available for supervised learning. So you start with a bit of supervised and then use it to improve unsupervised system. So that is called semi-supervised learning. And fourth one is reinforcement learning. As you have said, the system is put in an environment and based on the reward it gets, it can perform the task. So control, that is driverless car we talked about. And for classification, it is optimizing uh, distance. So in search, you can optimize the answers to that. So these are type of broad categorization of machine learning problems. This is simply a diagrammatic representation of what we have discussed. And this will also help in answering this question which we have discussed earlier for satellite data. Who has asked? Shail has asked that question. So a machine learning system often has three parts. So this is part one. Or okay, let me do it separately. Let me do it like this. So there are three parts. This is part two. This is part three. So part one is data processing. So you take the text data or document or image or sound data as input and process it to create feature vectors, which can be used to train the machine. So there is part one, feature engineering things that we have discussed through that example of image to language identification. So there is part one. Once the data processing is done, the processed data goes to machine learning algorithm, which is part two, selecting the right algorithm of to train the system and learning the actual system in a way that the system's performance would improve at the task. So that is part two of the system. And in case of supervised learning, it requires labeled data. So that's why this arrow. Because with every input, it needs to check whether the answer is correct or not. So in case of supervised system, you need labeled input. And third part is the actual prediction part. Need to save. Why would it not go out of it? Right. So this is uh, actual implementation of the system. This part three. So part three is where the trained machine is goes to predictive model, and when the actual data comes in, it performs the prediction. So part three is the prediction part. So again, going to that sales question of satellite image, how satellite makes decisions so fast. So it is a trained model which goes there, and based on training, it will directly predict the answer. After that, there won't be training. So the time consuming part is the part two. So actual time is consumed in part two, where machine is being trained. Once the machine is trained, it will be part of the software, and it can run as fast as any other software. So prediction part is usually fast part. Similar pattern for unsupervised learning, but you would notice that there is only one thing missing. Can anyone tell me what is missing here? Label, right? Because it is unsupervised, so the data is not labeled, so label would not be there. It's quite obvious. Otherwise, the cartoon is same. And then to sum up, I have given this regression, classification, and clustering, three types. Again, I guess Varalakshmi Madam might have talked about this. So regression is supervised learning. Output is a continuous quantity, and main aim is to forecast or predict. For example, predict stock market price. And the algorithms used for regression are called linear regression and similar other algorithms. So this chart describes what regression can do. So if you are given a feature of house and you want to predict price, so look at the sample. So square feet area and price. Let's say graph of size of house and price. So higher the size, more is the price, right? So these are the data points from where machine has learned. But like by looking at the data points, we may feel that we can draw a line which indicates the relation between the feature and price, the size of house and price. And if a new data point is given at some stage, for example, if someone creates something here and asks the question, what is price? Then you can use this line to answer the price value or answer the question. So this is regression where you can draw a line and answer. So usually the answer is continuous. So we are dealing with continuous variables. You are looking at past n observation and you want to make prediction for n plus 1th observation. On the contrary, in case of classification, you are given data point, and from the data point, you want to draw a separating line that classifies data points into different categories. One line if you want to divide data point into two categories. In this example, category has whether the email is spam or not. So classification is also a supervised learning. Output is a categorical quantity in which category the data point belongs. And main aim is to compute the category of the data. For example, classify email as a spam or not. Examples are logistic regression, and then there are many others, but let's say logistic regression for here. And then clustering is unsupervised learning. It assigns data point into clusters, and main aim is to group similar item clusters, which we find all transactions which are fraudulent. Algorithm, my famous algorithm for clustering is k-mean. So given the data points, green, red, and blue, divide them into different groups. So draw circles and see that this data are similar, this data are different, and so on. So that is kind of unsupervised learning. So based on that, this is our syllabus. We'll talk about many algorithms of classification, namely decision tree classifier, probabilistic classifier. Then we'll also talk about regression, then hyperplane classifiers and convex optimization, which will lead to support vector machine, which is also a very interesting classifier. And then unsupervised learning techniques like clustering, ensemble, and dimensionality reduction. All this we'll discuss in the coming lectures. So this was the introduction. From now on, we'll start with specific. So I will start with the probabilistic classifier, and I guess Varalakshmi Madam will start with linear regression. So with that, I stop here. We have 1 or 2 minutes. So do you have any questions? Then you can ask now. Oh, can you show textbook name? Yes. Missed that. So name of the textbook is Tom Michel. So all three of them are very popular books. Machine Learning by Tom Michel, T. Michel. Then Understanding Machine Learning by Shai Saloy Schwartz and Shai Ben David. And Pattern Recognition and Machine Learning by Christopher Bishop. Soft copies are also available. And we will also put the material online as we conduct the lectures. And other thing is, these books are theoretically grounded books, which helps you in understanding the concept. But nowadays, people also learn through blog and through the GitHub kind of platform where the codes are available for everything. So we'll take that approach in lab also. So where you can learn with programming and you can learn with problem solving. But in parallel, this theoretical grounding is also important because tools and technology keep on changing, but the underlying concepts of theory remain same. So that is also important part. Okay, Shale says, can a machine itself provide training to other machines? Okay, a very interesting question. But so this, rather than can the machine do it or not, more interesting way of looking at it for us is, if we want to do it, how would we do that? How would we write a program which can train other programs? So in this case, the examples of learning that we have discussed here, we have defined a learning problem that machine can learn from experience. And human's role here is that humans would decide what is a good experience for a particular task. So to answer Shay's question, what we need to think is, can machine decide what is a good data set for a particular problem? If machine can decide and choose that data set, then it can train other machine also. And Dhruval is asking, yes, Andrew Ng's video helpful? Yes, it is helpful. Actually, Andrew Ng is very popular, isn't it? He did this course in Stanford also, and he is teaching in Coursera also. He's founder of Coursera also. So yes, you can look at all the online material, blog, Andrew Ng's video, or other good this video. You can look at all the things. But at the same time, the point which I want to make is, the theoretical grounding is important, because I have been around for 10-15 years with this. So I have seen that the technology keeps on shifting. So earlier it was like, even in Andrew Ng's video also, earlier he used to work with R, then he shifted to Python, because at that time R was popular, then Python was popular. Now deep learning models are popular. So now everything about machine learning is moving towards deep learning. So you can refer to all the material available here. But at the same time, what I will try to bring you back to the theoretical core, which makes a good machine learning engineer. As I said, that if you do not know how to choose right data for a task, how to do feature engineering, how to decide whether the feature is useful for a particular task or not. If you cannot decide that, then no matter what algorithm you have used, no matter how good a programmer you are, or no matter how efficient processors you use for training your machine, these things will come from you. Right? So how much you need to train? There are some questions which only an intelligent human can answer, like how much data is good enough for training a machine learning system? Then what kind of problems you can solve through unsupervised learning? What kind of problem you can solve through supervised learning? What if the label data is not available or some labels are missing? How to deal with that? Then given the thousands of attributes or features, how to choose good features to train the system? Right? So all these things we need to learn, and I will also try to emphasize on that whenever is required. But along with that, you can keep yourself up to date with all the latest video lectures and blogs and ready to paper with code, all the code available online. So you can use that. Okay, Preeti is asking what is the fascinating application of machine learning you have come across? Okay. So things that fascinate me is related to text processing because that is my domain, natural language processing. So usually this automatic transcript generation, machine translation, then image to word conversion, which we have seen here. So actually, I am very fascinated by this also, the thing that I have just shown you. Let me go back to that. So whatever you type, it gets converted into text. It may not look that sci-fi, but it is the accuracy with which it is doing this is remarkable. Then also it can do something like this also. Let me show this. You see? So all this is machine learning. And how efficient or how accurate it is. And it is embedded into inside an editor only. So that's why I like this editor, and I'm using this for 1.5 years. But I have seen it, I found it fairly accurate. Right? So this is what I'm fascinated about, or this is what I have used. Otherwise, the things that you heard, that you hear in sci-fi movies and all these hi-fi space stories, those are intelligent things. But this is something what I have personally experienced. Okay, so if there are no other questions, let us stop here. And from next lecture, we'll start with Bayesian network.